Hey, thanks for joining me. So today I want to look at a Barlow that is made by Rough Ryder. I haven't really looked at many Rough Ryder knives. I looked at one other that was a whittling knife. Looked at in a previous video. I've had so many people suggest to me that I should look at Rough Ryder knives. And I saw this one on Amazon the other day. And you know, I'm a real lover of Barlow knives. And this one is the Classic Carbon steel. The other knife I got from them was their, I think it's 440A stainless steel. This one is the Classic Carbon, which I think is a T10 Chinese steel. But it's not too bad, actually. You know, for the price, it was very reasonably priced. And, you know, certainly for the money, it's well made. I can't complain about that. I have to do a couple of things, though, I do want to talk about it. So we're going to put it on the workbench where you can see it up close. We're going to go over it and take a look. Well, here you go, the Classic Carbon Barlow from Rough Ryder. It's a pretty nice looking little knife. Let's look at the packaging. It comes with this little oversleeve to protect the package. Kind of a nice box, got a magnetic catch on the front. Knife was wrapped in this, I think this rust preventative paper, vapor barrier paper, whatever they call it, and set in this nice box. You know, it's pretty nice packaging for a knife that's just $21 on Amazon. It was $20.97. So pretty nice. The last Rough Ryder I got was this whittling knife, and it just came in this box. Obviously not near as nice a presentation, you know, wrapped in plastic. Doesn't really impact the quality of the knife, but I thought it was a nice touch, this level of packaging for this. So anyway, let's look at the knife itself. So this is the knife. Mine has the yellow Delrin scales and or plastic scales. Got this emblem set into it. Nice. It's nice and flush. Good heavy bolsters. The back is flush. There's nothing sticking up, and you can, you know, tell someone paid attention to getting those ground down properly. The blades are nicely polished. They are a little bit hard to open. Got the Rough Ryder tang stamp, and you know, in general, it's a really pretty knife. I certainly can't complain about it in general. Here you've got the Rough Ryder tang stamp, and then it's got the I angle this so you can even see it. It's got the Rough Ryder tang stamp, I mean the model number, the RR2040, and, you know, China set in there. So there are a couple of little niggly things, though, that I'm going to pick on. And it's not to say that some other knife wouldn't have these also. But you can see here that there's a gap between the liner and the spring here and here. It's like right here they didn't get it tightened down very well. I mean, there is a pin there and there, but it just wasn't enough. I'm not sure how the bolster is attached exactly, probably just back here, but a little bit of a gap, not a really big deal, and probably most people wouldn't even notice it. The other thing I noticed is that the pin blade is kind of crooked. You notice that it's off center at the tip, but that off-centering, it seems as though the blade is angled from the tip to this shoulder here. And at first I thought maybe it was just this bevel ground at the top of the blade. You know, there's false edge on each side. But when you look at the blade itself, the blade is, to get something there where it can focus, the blade itself is just a little bit off angle there. So anyway, again, kind of a niggly little thing, not a really big problem. Main blade is not perfectly centered, but reasonably so. Neither blade is banging against the liners when you open or close it. The blades are a little tough to open, like I said, but it's new and I have not lubricated it. The only other thing that I would say is a problem is that the nail nick for the main blade is kind of hard to get to, and it's because the pin blade is sitting up too high. You can't raise the main blade. I mean, the tip of it's almost ready to snag right there. I mean, I can make it snag my finger a little bit. But the pin blade, I could remove a little bit of material right here and drop that pin blade down just a tiny bit, and then the nail nick on the main blade would be a little bit more accessible. Right now you kind of have to dig your thumbnail into it, and this is a complaint I heard or read on several reviews on Amazon about this knife, about all their Barlows. If you look at their Barlows, that seems to be a common issue, is that this pin blade's a little high. So, you know, in general though, it's for the price, the $21 I paid for it on Amazon, it's kind of hard to beat. You know, for a new knife, it's definitely well put together. The thing is, you start to compare this to maybe American-made knives, and I'm not trying to say one's better than the other, because I'm sure a lot of people would scream at me for this, but I have purchased case knives that weren't put together any better than this. Just saying. And in fact, if you compare this this is a Schrade from the 70s. Again, Delrin scales, that these have yellowed. Well, they were probably done that way intentionally in the beginning, but they're, you know, antique to look like bone. I love this pattern on the bolsters. It's really pretty. Instead of it just saying Boker, I really like that. The blades are not perfectly centered either on this. I mean, you can see the main blades closer to the center here. And however, the blades are much easier to open on this. I just bought this at an antique flea market. Haven't done anything to it yet. I haven't even sharpened it. It's a little bit sharp, but not much. But, you know, when you look at the quality of this in comparison, there's not huge differences. Again, you know, everything's nice and flush here, but there's no gaps. This doesn't have, on the pin blade, this doesn't have that bevel on the top. It does on the main blade, but it's pretty nicely done. You notice the blades on this are a bit more delicate. The whole knife is not as chunky as the one from Rough Ryder. This is just a little, you know, a little broader. The blades are, you know, a little heavier, actually heavier stock. So, you know, in general, this is a decent quality knife, and for the price, one certainly can't complain about it. Like I say, a couple of little niggly things, but in general, it's a pretty decent knife. So let's talk about the steel this is made of. This is the Chinese T10 steel, which the T10 name, the tin in it anyway, indicates that there's 1% carbon in the steel. So it kind of gets into that family of 1095 steels, but it's a more complex steel, also having small amounts of silicon, magnesium, or manganese, phosphorus, silicon, vanadium, chromium, nickel, and the list goes on. It's a pretty complex steel. There's actually quite a few different ingredients in it. It's known to have reasonably good wear characteristics and can take hardness up to Rockwell 62. I don't know how hard this is. I doubt it's anywhere close to that hardness level. But it certainly, as a carbon steel, is in a class similar to the 1095. Actually, as complex as the steel is, it probably has some improvements over 1095. So, you know, I think as a carbon steel, it's definitely going to be a good knife steel, and it's going to hold a good edge. Like I say, I have not really edge tested this or tried to test it to see how long it will hold an edge. I think there's plenty of that kind of testing on YouTube, but in general, I think it's a pretty decent steel. So anyway, there you have it, Rough Ryder Classic Carbon Barlow. There's a number of other knives in the Classic Carbon series that are maybe worth looking at too. I'm not sure if they're still making this particular knife, though they do have a number of other stainless steel Barlows if you're looking for a Rough Ryder Barlow. Anyway, the Rough Ryder Classic Carbon Barlow. Well, there you have it. The Rough Ryder Classic Carbon Barlow knife. I think well worth the money. Obviously, you don't pay very much for it. You get a pretty decent knife. The Chinese T10 steel will probably hold up fairly well. I haven't done any real abuse testing or wear testing on it, but I think the reputation of this knife company in general supports the idea that it'll hold a decent edge, for a reasonable amount of time. So it's certainly well worth the money when you compare it to some of the classic U.S. made Barlow knives. It's not too far away. Like I say, there's a couple of little niggly things that maybe could be improved quality wise, but I think in general it's a good value for the money. The only thing I guess that really bothers me is from a collecting standpoint, all my Barlow knives are U.S. made except for one Imperial that's made in Ireland. So this is my only Chinese made Barlow, which I'm going to add this to my collection just because it's a nice looking Barlow and it's well made. But if you're getting one for a user, I think the Rough Ryder's probably pretty hard to beat price wise. They're certainly a good value for the money. Well, I sure appreciate you joining me, and I always love it when you guys leave me questions or comments. If you have any thoughts you'd like to leave me, please leave me a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.